Now, Health Minister Dr. Joe Phaahla has announced that citizens who are 50 years and above and have received the Pfizer booster vaccine 4 months ago are now eligible to receive an extra booster shot. To expand more on this, we're joined by Dr. Lesley Bamford, vaccination team leader in the Department of Health. Dr. Bamford, very good evening to you. Thank you for your time. Some changes. Why the changes?
So perhaps if we can just first clarify what the changes are. So until now, any adult in South Africa, so someone 18 years and older, could receive 3 doses of the COVID vaccine. Some people received Pfizer and some people received J&J in different combinations. So from next week, people who are 50 years and older can receive an additional booster dose. And that is irrespective of what combination of vaccines they have received to date. If they have received 3 doses and the last dose was given 4 months ago, then they are now eligible to receive another dose of the Pfizer vaccine. So only Pfizer vaccine is available, but it's irrespective of what vaccines the people have received to date. The reason that we're doing this is that we know that over time, the protection that is provided by the vaccines does wane. And we also know that people 50 years and older are those who are most vulnerable to severe disease and death from COVID. And that is why we are making this additional dose available to this group.
Also, the other factor, perhaps, if you could give us a bit of clarity, is what you're seeing in terms of trends. I mean, we've heard from Dr. Nicholas Crisp that unless South Africans' COVID-19 vaccine uptake improves soon, the country will be in a sad situation with over 7 million expired doses of Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine by July. How serious is this?
So that is true, and it is one factor which allows us to make this offer to people who would like to take up the additional booster dose. There is good evidence that this provides additional protection. But I think really the main message is to encourage South Africans to come forward and be vaccinated, irrespective of where they are in their vaccination journey. So we know now that more than half of the population has been vaccinated and more than 70% of people 60 years and older. However, that means that many people are unvaccinated and many people also maybe only received 1 dose and maybe that was some time ago. And so the protection they still have some protection, but it is less than optimal. So really it's an opportunity to encourage everyone to come forward and be vaccinated. And we need to do that to protect people from COVID. We know that the numbers are currently low, but we are still seeing people in hospital with COVID. There are still deaths from COVID, luckily currently small numbers. We also are increasingly understanding that people who suffer from long COVID can really have symptoms for a long time. And so these are all reasons that we continue to encourage people to come forward and to be vaccinated.
You make mention of the vulnerability of those over the age of 50, but we know that a huge number of young people are also being seen in hospitals, and the numbers are indicating that many are unvaccinated.
So exactly. So people 50 years, particularly those 60 years and older, remain the most vulnerable, but we have relatively high vaccination rates in that group. And in South Africa, because we're a young country, older people form a relatively smaller proportion of the population than in some other countries. So we have a large number of young people in South Africa, many of those young people have come forward and been vaccinated, but many remain unvaccinated. And whilst they are less vulnerable than older people, we believe that it is nevertheless very important that they get vaccinated to protect themselves. Less likely, but they can still have a severe disease. They can have long COVID, and also by vaccinating, they protect those around them, their family and friends, particularly older persons.
The Health Minister also made mention of the importance of those suffering some form of comorbidity to also come forward, speaking to the importance of getting this booster shot.
So exactly. So we know that older people are vulnerable, most vulnerable, both because of their age, but also because they have a higher prevalence of some of the comorbidities that also place them at greater risk. So that's really another reason to get vaccinated. Likewise with young people who have comorbidities, whilst we're not currently offering people under 50 a fourth dose, anyone under 50 is eligible, or between 18 and 49 years is eligible for 3 doses. And particularly people with comorbidities, but the general population as well, are better protected if they've had their 3 doses.
Are there any changes in the response of young people when it comes to accessing vaccination sites and ensuring that they are vaccinated?
So we have seen a small increase in the number of young people coming forward. We are also offering vaccinations in schools to 12 to 17-year-olds, and we've seen good uptake there. So there has been some progress, but nevertheless, there are still far too many younger South Africans who remain unprotected.
And the
or unvaccinated.
There you are. And the lifting of the state of disaster management, what sort of effect has that had on the people's, enthusiasm in accessing the vaccination sites?
Well, I think the fact that currently we have low number of cases, fewer hospitalizations, fewer deaths from COVID, and the fact that the state of emergency, state of disaster has been lifted, it gives us all a sense that things are perhaps that the pandemic is over. But that's really a false sense of security, and we don't know what's going to happen next. And there still is a high chance of new variants, and it's really critically important that we are as well protected as possible through vaccination.
Very well. Thank you so much for your time and weighing in on this discussion. That was the Department of Health's vaccination team leader, Dr. Lesley Bamford.